Welcome, friends. It's Miss Gisa, and today we have a very special author with us, Tracy Phillippi, author of The Wild Island, an adventure at Isle Royale National Park. Welcome, Tracy.
Hi, Jisa. So nice to see you virtually today.
It's so nice to see you too. I can't wait to hear more about your first book that's coming out any day now. And
Very soon.
yes, yes. And I'm really excited that it's a national park book because, as you know, national parks are near and dear to my heart as they are to yours. Um,
We definitely bonded over this when we first
yes,
connected on Instagram. You find your people really quickly on Instagram.
absolutely. Absolutely. I was wondering, what inspired you to write a story at one of the least visited national parks?
Yeah. So I think in order to answer this question, maybe I'll tell you a little bit about my family. So I have three children. They're 10, 8, and 4, and they're a pretty rambunctious group of kids that love to spend time outdoors. During COVID, we actually visited all 48 state parks in Wisconsin as our family goal.
Yes.
Including when I was pregnant and also had a newborn at the time. And we kind of just developed, well, this is my personality, but we just kind of developed this idea that we wanted to try to see as much of our public land as possible and used the national parks as a way to explore different parts of our own country. So my middle kiddo, Simon, and I started going to Isle Royal when he was 5 years old. And we realized at the time when we were trying to find books in his school library and at the public library that there were no books about Isle Royal. So, as a librarian myself and somebody who spends many hours a day reading picture books to her kids, I really just wanted to fill that void and create a story for my kids and for future generations of kids that want to spend time in America's most least visited national park.
I love that. And is that why you're creating a series
Yes.
about
Yeah.
the least visited national parks?
Yeah, so I'm calling it the Lesser Known Parks Collection.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide what my second park will be, and I think it might be a park in Canada.
Okay.
We are dual US and Canadian citizens, so we also spend a lot of time in Canadian national parks as well. But there's a park in southwestern Saskatchewan where my husband is from called Grasslands National Park, and it actually has fewer visitors than Isle Royal, so it is as remote
Wow.
as it comes. I think they receive 20,000 visitors per year, maybe max. And most of those visitors are researchers coming to study dinosaur fossils.
That's incredible. I know Canada has some amazing national lands as well. And I had never heard of that one. So,
It's gorgeous. So it wouldn't be that far from Glacier National Park if you find yourself in
okay.
northern Montana.
Yeah, that's one I still have to visit.
Yeah.
So Simon's journey in your story starts in a really noisy classroom, and leads to a peaceful wilderness. Um, why do you think nature is such a powerful escape for kiddos?
Oh gosh, I feel
And
like
adults
for
too.
all of us, it just
Right.
allows us to escape the noise and the distraction and the expectations that this chaotic world places upon us, and just truly be ourselves and immerse ourselves in the moment. And kids especially benefit from that, especially kids that are so busy and scheduled. They need to be placed in places where they only have sticks, stones, and a lake to play with. They need to think creatively and use the world around them. I
I
think it really
agree.
impacts their mental health. And I feel that too when we go to Isle Royale National Park compared to other national parks because there's no Wi-Fi. You're completely disconnected. And it usually takes about a day until you can really settle into that. At first it feels anxious, like you're looking, scrolling on your phone. You're trying to connect to
Correct.
the outside world, and eventually you realize you can't, and every cell in your body just quiets. It's just so special. And there aren't many places like that left in North America.
I agree. And you're a master naturalist,
I
which
am.
yeah.
Wisconsin Master Naturalist. So I
Okay.
took the course through our program here, which is part of our University of Wisconsin Extension. And it's basically a glorified volunteer program. So I volunteer 40 hours a week for different, or 40 hours a month, sorry.
Okay.
Actually, cut. I volunteer 40 hours a year to maintain my accreditation as a Wisconsin Master Naturalist. And I love bats. So I focused pretty much all of my time on bat counts, bat echolocation, and bat education.
Oh
That's how
my,
I maintain
that's
my
so
naturalist
amazing.
credentials. I
Okay.
just love them so much. They're so misunderstood and they're everywhere. They're so important.
I agree. Agree. My daughter and I, 2 summers ago, started to do help with some bat counts. So every summer we try to do that. And yeah, I hardly knew anything about bats
Right.
before we started.
And then when you pay attention, you realize they're everywhere. There's 9 different species in Wisconsin alone. I mean, they're everywhere.
Amazing. How did your background shape the way you wove the real park facts into a fictional story?
Yeah. Yeah, my book is a fictional story, but it was really important for me to be able to teach kids something about this park. There's only 30,000 people that visit Isle Royale every year, and that number will probably go down as cuts to the National Park Service eliminate some of the ferry trips. So I really wanted kids to understand what makes this place so special and so unique when compared to other national parks and other spots in the Northwoods of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan. So throughout the story, here's the book right here. This is Simon, and this is Ranger. So Simon wakes up at Isle Royale National Park, and we're not sure if it's a dream or if it's real life. We're not really sure. It's kind of mysterious. And he's very nervous and confused and missing his mom and feeling disconnected. But this little guy, Ranger, here, over the course of the story, teaches him about the park and teaches him about the wildlife and the Native American heritage and what truly makes the park special. So Ranger's kind of like a know-it-all squirrel. So throughout the story, you're learning through Ranger as he teaches Simon to appreciate the place. And my illustrator, Susan, here's a page right here. She worked in a lot of these little fun facts throughout the story. So this page is about all of the contents that Simon finds in his hiking backpack. And then we work in here why a water filter is necessary because you have to filter all the water on the island. There's really no other way to get it. So we tried to work that in throughout the story.
I really actually loved those elements, and I love how there is a ranger, a little animal that's guiding Simon through and teaching him about the park.
Yeah, he's really cute. And I hope he becomes the reoccurring character throughout the story, the future stories that I write about lesser known national parks, but we'll have to see. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I love that. I'm really at the edge of my seat waiting to see which national park. Well, you may be doing the Canada one.
Maybe.
Right?
I've also thought about Voyageurs National Park. Simon and I went ice skating at Voyageurs a couple months ago. And I
Yeah.
thought specifically because Voyageurs is a park you visit in the summer so that you can spend time in boats. So I thought about what winter means at a park that's meant to visit in the summer. We'll see. We'll
That's a,
see where I go.
that's a great idea, actually. I love that. Can you talk a little bit about your collaboration with Susan, your illustrator, and how the visuals came together?
Yeah. So Susan is actually a good friend of a good friend. We were in a wedding together about 15 years ago, and this mutual friend of ours, after she learned that I was going to be working on this book, suggested I get in touch with Susan. And I wasn't quite sure. I thought maybe I should go with an illustrator that I didn't have a personal connection to keep it more of a business transaction. But as soon as Susan and I started brainstorming about this, I knew that she was the person I needed to work with. We just jived together. I still feel like I'm in control of the process and I'm the artistic director, but she is an absolute master in her craft. And so we worked really closely together. I know some authors and illustrators might just touch base a couple times and they leave the creative juices to the illustrator, but Susan and I were texting every single day. She would have a specific question and I'd give her my specific vision and she'd come back with a couple options and we'd go from there. So she was really great to work with. She's about 2 hours from Madison, Wisconsin, where I live. She's on Lake Michigan.
Yeah, that
We were able to
collaboration.
meet a couple times in person, which was nice.
Yeah, that's really great. That collaboration is really important.
Yeah. And once she kind of had all the illustration, a rough outline of the illustrations, we were able to meet in person and place the text. Traditionally, as you know, might hire a third person to do the book design. But because we were able to do that together in person, I think that allowed us to kind of cut out that book designer and do it ourselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you hope that kids will take away after reading The Wild Island?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot, and I bet you feel the same as somebody who writes about national parks.
Yeah.
We would love to live in a world where every single child had the opportunity to visit and explore and appreciate our public lands. But unfortunately, there's a certain amount of privilege that comes along with being able to travel to these remote and expensive places and take the time off work. So, ideally, I would love for everybody to be inspired to visit the park, but because that isn't a reality, I want kids to be inspired to read other stories about national parks. So, part of when I start doing author talks, Susan and I created a national park reading ranger checklist. So, there are 4 different national parks that they are encouraged to learn about. If I remember correctly, we did Arches, Grand Canyon, Yosemite, and Great Smoky Mountains. And
Okay.
then, of course, Isle Royale, which they will have already read.
Yes.
And then once they check out a book from their library or borrow a book from a friend or purchase one, they will write in the name, and then their grown-up will send a picture to me to my email address, and I will send them a postcard from Ranger that's handwritten to
I
them.
love that.
Yeah, so I just want kids to feel connected to our parks when they can't visit themselves,
Yeah.
and reading is the best possible way to do that.
Yes. And I haven't been to Smoky Mountains, but those other three are like my favorites.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny when
I haven't been to Death Valley, but I've learned all about the Death Valley pupfish through your book.
yes. Yeah, I mean that's kind of my goal too, is just to get kids really excited and interested. And
Yeah.
um, I didn't grow up going to national parks either.
Yeah.
So it's never too late, even when you're
No.
older.
Do you remember the story about a grandson and a grandma? I don't know if it was during COVID or if it was after that, but they visited every national park in a year, and she was in her 90s.
That no, I didn't hear about that.
We should look up that story. I think the last one they did was American Samoa or something,
Oh,
another hard one to get to. But
yes.
she, yeah, she was elderly and she had never been to any parks until she decided to do this grand adventure with her grandson.
Yeah,
Really sweet.
that's awesome. Well, Tracy, I just am so happy that we got to chat about your book and your series, and I am definitely looking out for the next book and can't wait to read it.
Ditto. Thank you.
Yeah, everyone, you can check Tracy out on social media. And Tracy, will you be doing a read aloud of your book online
Good
or?
question. I haven't thought about that. I've been focusing on in-person events in my own
Okay.
community after my book launch in May, but that's a great idea. Maybe I will do that.
All right. Would you like to shout out your handles on
Sure.
Instagram and
So
Facebook?
it's Tracy Writes Outside, Tracy Writes Outside. And my book is now available for pre-order on Amazon. And I've been stocking up the Amazon warehouses, so it should be sent out on the 8th or the 9th of May.
I know mine says that it's going to be, so
Does
yeah.
it? That
Yeah.
means there's books in the
Yeah.
distribution center, so they arrived.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you for joining us. And
Thank you.
friends, join us again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like real authors to come visit your school, library, or program, be sure to check out SCV Children's Authors and Illustrators. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to like and subscribe to support our channel.